What up, everybody? Got to turn that down some more. How is it going? We are going to be doing this again. Going to go a little bit over what we talked about yesterday. We're going to talk about some new stuff from today. I also got a video from Benny Johnson with General Finn, that I want to go over. So share this out. I want us all to go over this. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to give you guys a minute to get into the comments here. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Jen. See you guys. Check and make sure things are showing up right here. This is good, but we are going to go over JFK stuff again. We're going to do a few of these. I'm not even still through all of the first files we got yesterday. What up, David? There's a lot of files. After we called it a show last night, started to chill and go on and move on to other things for the night. And guess what? They dropped more files last night. So the total drop of files last night, I believe, was like just over 2,000, like 2,100 and change. It's kind of crazy. There's a lot of files. I see you guys all coming in here. So throw in the comments, share this out, get it out there so everybody starts coming in. The views are starting to go up, which is great. And so we want to be bringing everybody into this so we can go over the new stuff. We're going to touch on a little bit from last night for anybody that didn't tune in last night. We're going to kind of just blow through that a little pretty quickly, but I'm going to touch on it just in case for those that were not here. So share this out. Post in the comments where you're watching from. Let's do that. Let's get some comments going. That will also help us get it out there. Well, I'm getting this shared out. Bear with me a moment. I also want to check Rumble. I wonder if I fixed Rumble. Why am I not streaming on Rumble? Oh. I'm not streaming on Rumble because my account is not verified. Why is that? Bear with me 2 seconds, guys. Fixing this. 873 444 validate. Done. Now, will this show up on Rumble? We're going to find out if that's going to actually fix it for tonight. We will see. I see you guys. See you guys in there. Let me see if this actually goes through. I don't know if Rumble's going to be happy with that. Let's see if I turn it off. We're going to do one more try here. So if I do that, and turn it back on. Now will it show up? Have you guys seen anything new with the JFK files today? Has anybody seen anything new with the files? All right. PA. More PA. South Carolina. There we go. Thank you, Audrey. It's actually a lot of fun. I enjoy it. As I'm sure you guys might know by now. Because I actually enjoy, hey, Rumble might be working. I enjoy doing these deep dives on things and really going through stuff that most other people are not talking about. It seems like commonly today you're seeing with a lot of shows, nice, Rumble is working. No audio. Don't want audio and feedback. So I enjoy it. I like going through this and really giving you guys a different perspective, going through the files and discussing it with you. Not only like Terry caught the name last night, Shriver, I think is how we say it, Shriver. And we're going to touch on that because we got to recap yesterday's. But when she caught that, it kind of just caught my eye. And I was like, wait a minute, what is that name? Why is that name sounding familiar? And we looked it up, and that's why. They're married to the Kennedys. That's how that whole thing happened. But all right, we're getting everybody in here. We're going to go ahead and get started. We're not going to do a super long show because we're going to do a series of these shows around JFK files. Tonight's going to be a mix of a little bit from last night, some new stuff, and then we'll move on forward, and it will only be new stuff going forward. We won't be going backward and recapping on much of the other stuff unless it's pertinent to something new. So we'll be just focusing on the new stuff on the next episode. But this one, because yesterday was chaotic. Like for those that didn't know, the JFK files didn't get released until 30 minutes before the scheduled show was starting. Now that's on me for scheduling it in advance. Now I took the government's word for it, and they said it would be released in the afternoon. I'm like, cool, I get a few hours to review some files. Then we'll go over it via show. But no, we did it live yesterday. So it, we got some stuff done. We kind of bounced around a little bit at first, trying to get our feet under ourselves, and then we got some information out. So we're gonna do it again tonight. To recap. So just to recap, in my notes here, let me move my notes actually over here real quick. So in my notes from last night, a little bit of what we're touching on. CIA was aware of Oswald well before the assassination, and they were watching and monitoring. Sound familiar? Does that sound like the FBI and maybe Thomas Crooks and others that were watching and monitoring bad people, but our government never seems to catch them before something bad happens? It's really stupid. Like this summing up real quick all of the files that I've reviewed so far, all it does is paint the CIA in a bad name, like they weren't doing their job. That's pretty much summing up a good short story of it. There's a lot of other interesting things in here. Like we went over Gary Underhill last night. Gary Underhill was very suspicious the day after the JFK assassination. He was like the CIA was in on it and was kind of losing his getting agitated with everybody around him. His family was concerned. Even some friends mentioned some concerns. Um, and with that, he was vocal that CIA did this. The CIA did this to JFK. And turns out 6 months later, somehow he suicided himself, which I don't believe that he took his life. I believe that he was probably taken care of by someone like the Clintons. But that is a little bit of what we touched on yesterday. The other thing we touched on, but we didn't actually touch on this exact one specifically. The government, including the Navy and Secret Service, all knew and were warned months and months in advance someone was going to try to take out JFK as president. Someone was going to take him out. Um, what? What? Really? You are in here? What up, dude? Welcome, man. Glad you're tuning in. So the JFK, when our government, that kind of threw me off, but our government knew well in advance that this was going to happen and something bad was going on. And so, hey Rhonda, I see you. And so our government knew. There were multiple departments that knew. The Navy knew, Secret Service knew, the CIA, I want to say knew, but we don't have that in the document explicitly. We do know the FBI knew. We do know that there was some information that was passed around different branches of the government. Specifically, the FBI in Dallas received a phone call that alerted them, and that's what I'm going to pull up that document real quick, and we're going to touch on that. And we're not trying to view any of the huge documents like last time. Third try. You're using speech to text, Audrey. um, just thank you. I appreciate that, Audrey. I appreciate that. But let me share this screen and let's go over this document real quick. Let's zoom in. Boom. There we go. So the FBI, I can't remember what page this is on. Dang it. And this one's one of the bigger documents. I took notes of the document. Let me see. Bear with me one second. Let me see if I can find this in a faster way. Bear with me one moment. I want to know what page. Because there was another phone call that came in outside of the one with Sergey Cernanov. I can't remember how you even say that name. It's definitely not anything within my vocabulary. Um, it's not readily available. So, and I don't recognize any of these as it. So we're gonna skip this right now. Stop. So what I'll say is, we know for sure that it was mentioned to the FBI in Dallas before the assassination attempt that someone was going to try to take his life. We know for sure it was reported before it did happen. This came in as an anonymous caller, and the FBI in Dallas didn't clearly do anything about it. If they did, it was very small and they didn't do enough because it wasn't there. The other thing that we did not discuss last night that I know others were discussing this morning when I woke up. So I looked into it, I pulled up the document, and that's what we're going to go over here. Let me open that document. So this one gets into where the you have Jack Ruby and Oswald met at a nightclub just like weeks before the assassination attempt. Let's actually go through this here and I'll show you guys. And where they met was interesting because in this document, we're talking about Fidel Castro. And let's see, where do we talk about? Let me go back here. Did I take note of the wrong document number? I might have. Hang on. Bear with me one second, guys. 112, 103. That's the right document number. At least what I have noted. Prestige Fidel Castro has lost a little prestige among his supporters in Latin America and resulted in a crisis in his eyes of his disciples in the United States failed to exploit an opportunity to unseat him, and Castro remained in power. None of this mentions. I must have the wrong number documented for this. This one's my bad. Where did that go? How did I miss that? Bear with me a second, guys. How did I miss that? I can't find that document number. Yeah, I don't see that. Okay. I will see if I can find it and I'll post about it. Here we go. 194 da 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 da. 112. I have the right one. But I don't have the memo from the FBI. Not FBI, CIA. In the there's a supposedly this is the number, but I must have it wrong. So the CIA admits that there was a meeting between Jack Ruby and Oswald weeks before the assassination attempt, and Jack Ruby is the one that took out Oswald later. And the reason why this is kind of important and why I wanted to touch on it, the document is not as important because I have the other document, which is one that's really more important in my opinion. I think this one matters more, and that is 190. There's so many files, guys. So many files. Holy crap. Is it in the what was released later? So what I'm talking about is with these ones, with these files, the new ones that came out also, it appears that there is an issue where Jack Ruby was fearing for his life and his family's safety, and he believed that there was something that needed to be done with Oswald, or else his family was in danger. And so Jack Ruby took out Oswald. Like you would have to be really stupid to do that. Like in these scenarios, you have a lot of pressure on you, and that is probably the only scenario I think it could happen. Now, could we do know the story about Sergey, and Sergey talking about how he is pressured by the Secret Service and the FBI and the local police department, that he was being pressured to do things or take out Sergeant Shriver. I said that wrong multiple times and I got corrected last night. Shriver, I think that's right. And he was supposed to take him out. They were giving him drugs and they were trying to just persuade him and give him a pistol to go and take him out. Now, he didn't. He refused. And so this was also, it seems like the same tactic was being utilized potentially against Jack Ruby to be able to take out Oswald. The part that I find weird about the whole Oswald scenario is with Oswald in this whole thing, after Oswald was taken out, his whole family was surveilled, um, to make sure that no one gives up that story, gives a different story. They were trying to keep up on the FBI, I believe. Let me see the document here, or is it the CIA? Probably is both. Human Affairs. Get into this one, but they were monitoring Oswald's family, his wife, and family members to make sure that they don't actually change or go against any of the narrative that was already put out. So they try to make sure that whatever the scenario is that they put out in the media doesn't have any opposing views. Would you trust the government getting involved in any way to control the narrative of a story to make sure that there is nobody with an opposing view of that? Like, why would they want to monitor his family, Oswald's family, and to see how they're interacting with mainstream media and all of these things to be able to get a story out? I don't understand why. No, Andy, I'm not starting over. You already heard most of this from last night anyway, so we're just doing the recap still. And Jeffrey, wasn't that Arnold's wife's name? Arnold's wife? What do you mean? Oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yes, I believe so. Um, but when it comes down to this entire scenario with Oswald, it gets weird that the government is trying to control the narrative on the story that is put out. The story that's put out is really weird that they are making it seem all shady, that there is an agenda that they're trying to sell to the public and they don't want the public to be coming back to that. What up, J Rev? And I don't know what you're referring to. What did I just say? I'm you guys. Um, but it really makes this whole thing seems sketchy. Nothing's on the up and up when it comes to the government. But like I said earlier, when it comes down to the entire government and trying to control the narrative, they're trying to make sure that Arnold Schwarzenegger, um, let's discuss Australia's involvement. Yeah, that was last night. We'll touch on that real quick. Australia actually received reports from a Polish man, and that was coming up in the story. Let me see if I can find that document real quick. That was coming up because they received multiple reports of someone is going to assassinate Kennedy, and it was reported to the U.S. Navy, and the U.S. Navy, um, JFK versus Allen Dulles, yeah, that's correct with that book. The U.S. Navy actually knew about the assassination attempt well before it happened, well before it happened, and I can't seem to find the specific document that was this is referring. I should have taken a note on that. But the Australian government, not Australian government, but Australia got reports of this and it got over to the Navy, but it never really came through and got to the US to where we did anything about it. The Navy held on to it and did just that. And never relayed it until 2 days later, 2 days after the assassination. All of a sudden the information is coming out. Hey, we got reports of this from a Polish man in anonymously calling and reporting it, but they said there was holes in the story. There was issues with the car. License plate didn't match the vehicle that it was associated that he said the car was. A whole bunch of information that was being given to them to validate the story on who he is and how he's reporting it. All of those things to them didn't match up. They said it none of it was viable. I I don't believe that. Like, yeah, they could have had some questionable motives, but you still got to report it and take action on it. Like, you're talking about the president of United States. It's not like this is the first time a president was assassinated. Like, you got to take that seriously. But go back and look. July 13th, Donald Trump was shot at by Thomas Crooks. Thomas Crooks was investigated by the FBI. They didn't do anything. So we have a long history, and we talked about this last night. Our government has a long history of trying to look incompetent, but just so they can say that they weren't actually involved in it. But clearly, the CIA is all over this one, all over this one. And there's a lot of reason to question the CIA and their involvement in this because there's so many balls dropped. And with the documents that I've reviewed so far, and we went over last night, it how can you not say that they didn't want to stop it? Like, that's all I can say is how can you come up with any other story other than the CIA didn't want to stop it from happening? So it's a little sketchy there. A little sketchy. Let me see if I got any other notes from my recap here. Oh, one document we reviewed last night, but it didn't click in what we were looking at. It came up today, and I'm going to share my screen again. I don't know if you guys will remember this document because I was looking at it and I was wondering what we were looking at here. Remember this? This is a list of cities, and I was looking at it and I was like, I don't really understand. And I realized, oh, wait, there's a bunch of cities in here. These are a bunch of supposedly secret bases that is around the world. Now, the CIA had 34 secret bases around the world that masked every country. Like almost, you can't say literally every country because there's a lot more than 34 countries, but all of your big countries. Like you had Latin America, you have some in Africa, you have some in Asia. We hit all of the main points, and they had secret bases. We pulled up that document last night, and we didn't even realize what it was talking about. And that is one of the things that I read today, and I was like, "Oh, well, we missed that one. We missed that." Um, the other thing to talk about as a recap that I got from someone else in this document is in here. Am I on the right one? Yeah. Control of travel from Cuba. We are talking about when it comes down to Russia, Russia was actually not Russia, the Soviets were super suspicious about this entire thing. And they were thinking that this assassination attempt would actually prompt the United States to enter into a World War III, which is kind of weird because earlier on when we were looking at the documents yesterday, yeah, Chris, you can't scroll in the chat. Not on that chat. That's on the screen at least. You can scroll on the outside of it though. But when it comes down to the Soviets and the Soviet Union, they were all over the initial documents. We talked about that yesterday. That it was interesting that the the USSR was so crazy involved in all of these documents and all of these things. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Is this why Donald Trump wanted to release this or what? But then today, as I went through some more and found more, that started to disconnect more and more and more, because it wasn't as mentioned as frequently. Now, there was quite a bit initially in what we reviewed, but it didn't continue so far. Now, it could come back up again because, like I said, for those of you that showed up late, last night, Andy, I know you know this. It is going to be delayed. It's 11 second delayed. That's all streaming platforms. When it comes to the documents, there was another set of documents that were released last night. Like right as I was getting ready for bed and I was about ready to just call it a night, all of a sudden I see Andy tag me in a post. There's a new drop. So I ran over to my computer and I set him to download, and I was going to deal with it today. I haven't reviewed them yet. I opened a few of them, make sure they were not bad and corrupted or whatever, but they are there. When it comes down to the entire all of the new documents, we'll get into that in some of the series as we get there. But there was another 1,000 documents released late last night. Russia is right. Eastern Bloc USSR countries did everything through Russia. Yep. But the reason why I clarified that is just to make sure, because in the documents we're referring to them as Soviets and USSR, but Russia, all the same thing. But yeah, that is the summary of yesterday. Wow, that took a lot longer than I anticipated. All right, let's do this. I want to show you guys what General Flynn, who watches Benny Johnson regularly. Did anybody watch Benny Johnson this morning? Anyone? Because not this morning, but this afternoon, because he kind of goes live midday. I want to show you guys what General Flynn was saying, and I don't think so. Why do Dems want World War III? Dems want World War III to put people in fear, and so then they can push us back at home, and they can get their mail-in ballots. Anything to push us to where we don't go and vote in person. That is why. All right, let's go ahead and play this. Let me make sure there's no audio there so far. Hang on. Why don't I have... There we go. Give me a thumbs up if you guys hear audio when this starts playing.
Yeah, Mike Pompeo. Why did Mike Pompeo want to release these? What we're looking at an organization, the CIA, that is so rogue. The CIA is the fourth branch of government. The deep state is what forms around the CIA. And the CIA has infiltrated the White House. They've infiltrated every single staff in the House and the Congress. So when Miss Luna and other members of like the HIPSI or the SISI or the SASC or the HASC or the HAC or the SAC, all these different acronyms, right? Inside of those organizations, inside of those staffs, in the legislative branch, never mind in the judicial branch, there are elements of the intelligence community that have been in there for a long, long time. They just flow in and out, and some of them are what they call legacy people. So we've got to take this very seriously. This is not, finally the JFK things are, the files are released, and then, Sunday night or Saturday night, we're bombing the Houthis again, and everybody forgets about the JFK files. An organization of the United States government called the Central Intelligence Agency committed what we now know, this act of criminal conspiracy to not just undermine a president of the United States, but to assassinate a president of the United States. We have got to accept that or not. People can say, but I accept that. So now it is, what are we going to do about it? So maybe we waited, whatever it is, 75 years or something. I'm not a math major, but we waited this long. Okay. So these people are all dead and gone. Underhill supposedly put a bullet behind his head and shot him, and committed suicide. What is going to happen? Accountability. Everybody is held to account. Children are held to account by their parents. We hold the people accountable for all kinds of crimes in this country. We're trying. Tom Homan's doing things for this country right now to get rid of, these MS-13 thugs. Trump is trying to do all that he can, but he's only one man. What we've got to demand, and it's audiences like yours, Benny, audiences like yours that have got to say, okay, is anybody ever going to get in any trouble for this? Are we going to do anything? Yes. Are we going to take a hard, like John Radcliffe? I haven't heard John Radcliffe talk about reform of the.
Touch on this real quick. We're going to pause this. The part that I like about what he's talking about, and I talk about it all the time. You guys hear me talk about it, is accountability. We do need to ensure more accountability with our elected representatives. I am not going to call them leaders because I don't believe they are leaders. I believe they are parasites right now and they are not serving us. But we have to start holding them accountable. Just because these files are released doesn't mean everything's good. And that's what General Flynn is saying. General Flynn's saying, now that we have this information, what are we going to do with it? Once we have real information that we want to that we should take action on, for example, the CIA completely flopping on all of these leads and all of this information, what are we doing with the CIA? There needs to be something. FBI is next. FBI had numerous leads, numerous reports of information and things going on of all of these things happening or potentially happening, and they didn't do anything about it either. Now, you can't go back and hold them accountable, but we can start reforming departments and putting laws and restrictions or just repealing the entire departments and getting rid of them, which is what I'm a fan of. Excuse me. Get rid of the FBI, get rid of the CIA. We don't need them. All they are is big government thugs, and they need to go away. We don't need them anymore. And honestly, the FBI was all established via an executive order and shouldn't exist anyways. But we decided, oh, well, we like them. Well, the government did, and they used them for just political pawns and pushing people around to ensure that they get what they want. And every president has always used the FBI against other parts of the government. Every single one of them. And we have to just get rid of the FBI and get rid of the CIA, if it was my opinion. They should go away. Files be released are great, but we also know that a lot of documents, audio files were destroyed years ago, and there are things that we'll never be able to know. I agree with you, but someone knows. As soon as we can start getting the truth out there and start getting people talking about it, people feel more comfortable about coming forward. And so then you can get others to come forward with the information that is in there. Like, there's a lot of things that people know that they just withhold. They don't actually get that information out. And a lot of it is because they're not comfortable with it. And we need to encourage more of that. We need to encourage more people to come forward. But with how everything is weaponized and politically put in front of everybody's face, like, for example, look at CJ, for example, the little dude that was at the president address to Congress, and Donald Trump made him a Secret Service agent, a special Secret Service agent. In my opinion, I don't like that we do those things. I think it's a little bit of grandstanding, and it's a little, for lack of a better word for it, you're using these people for these things to say, look at what I did. And I don't like it. We need to stop all of those things and just focus on the country and what we need to be doing. We don't need to be putting all of these things out and saying, look at us, look at what we're doing. Now, CJ is awesome. I don't want to take anything away from him for what he has overcome and done and fighting cancer. Can't take a single thing away from him. But I would like us to stop doing that in politics and in government in general. I would like it to go away. But we seem to kind of find ways to do that with everything. Look at Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi can't do a damn thing that's effective. She just goes on Fox News every other night and talks about Epstein files, and she doesn't release shit. That's how useless our government is. And we need to kind of get rid of that. We need to get rid of that. And hopefully we start moving in that direction. We're just going to have to see how we go. But overall, we need to start taking these files, dissecting them. I'm very concerned that no one is trying to do round 2 of these files. Everybody has given up already because these files there's so many. Like, what do? You actually go through them, and people actually put some effort into it. And that type of stuff needs to be done so we can actually push to move forward in a positive direction and hold people accountable, especially anybody in government. Especially anybody in government. So there isn't one document. Are you saying in the JFK files? Because I guarantee you, not everybody has gone through that. Gone through all the files yet. Not everybody. And everybody that is talking about like, oh, I used AI to go through it. No, none of those AI reports, like I should have said this earlier. Everybody that tried to use AI to do a summary of what's going on with these files, none of them talk about Sergey like we talked about last night. None of them. That story was only talked about here because we went through the file. We read through things. And then all of a sudden a name triggered Terry and she's like, wait a minute, that name, like, I know that name. Those are the type of things that we have to do. And we really need to keep doing that. And that's why I'm doing the show again tonight. Like, to create, not to create, but just to be leading by example. Because I really hate that everybody gave up on the files already. Everybody's already done. I don't know a single person that went through a whole bunch of the files that were the second release last night. There was another release after we called it a show, and there's another 1,000 documents we got to go through. I'll go through them. I enjoy this stuff. Now, I want to save you guys the time. I don't want to spend 2 hours like we did last night and make a little progress. So I'll do it all on the side and give you guys the summary. And we'll go through some of the documents together. But I don't want to be pulling every little document and going page by page because it's not as entertaining. But if we pull up some of the documents and go through them, we're going to do it. We will do that. Let's finish this video, though, because General Flynn is on fire in this. And shout out to him. I met him in Oklahoma last year, about a year ago. He's a good dude. Really good dude.
Of the CIA. I've heard Tulsi Gabbard talk about reform of the intel community. So I'm waiting. I'm not going to wait long because I do believe that we have to deal with the current level of corruption in our government, but we also have to learn from our this egregious history that we have, that we're part of. And we've done some other things as an American, as America overseas, to screw things up. I mean, the attack into Iraq by the Bush administration was probably the biggest strategic mistake of this century. But this assassination of Kennedys, plural, and making sure that this body, this very smart, talented group of people couldn't get control of our government apparatus. Everybody knows what JFK said about the CIA. Most people don't know what Dulles did when Kennedy fired him. Dulles went ahead, just like what we're seeing right now with people like Obama and Brennan and Clapper. Dulles went, and he didn't leave Washington, D.C. He just went down the street and he formed another little, I'll call it a kitchen cabinet or whatever, of people outside and inside. He was still directing the operations of the CIA. That was right after he got fired by Kennedy. So that's very well known in the intel circles. So I want these congressmen and women to make sure that they describe this, and I am not emotional about this. I'm very matter of fact. Okay. I'm very matter of fact. I may be raising my voice on you, and I apologize for that because I'm in a different kind of room here. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I want people to understand that this is not a mistake. Okay. This was an egregious crime committed against the American people, committed against our government, committed against a president, committed against our Constitution. And to this day, no one has been held accountable that actually really did in fact do this. Yet that information has been known, right, to the American people for a long, long, not to the American people, but to the duly elected representatives. I'm going to tell you, the Gang of Eight,
See, and this is where I 100% agree with what General Flynn was saying. Like, we have to have some accountability. We have to have something. And we got to start holding, like, messaging our elected reps in Congress and saying, hey, you released the files, great job. But now we need you to do more. We need the next set. Like, what are we going to do for that? And how do we get not just the next set, but what's the next step? Is there things that we can reform? Can we shut down departments that we believe we're not doing the right things, like the CIA? Can we do things like reform policies to where they don't have as much leniency in these policies? We can hold them accountable to certain measures. Or if something is reported, for example, an attempted assassination on a president, you can't withhold this information. It has to be moved up the chain. Because we know that happened. We know months. I think it's 8 months that we knew in advance that there was reports of an attempted assassination on JFK. We knew. We knew. So it's not acceptable. I don't care if you voted for JFK or were against JFK. He was the president of the United States. We knew it in advance. You need to be protecting the United States president. All right, next one. Let's jump into this. Next one. I want to talk, and this is a topic I avoid because I can't stand on what it does to people, but I have to touch on this. Israel. Israel is mentioned in these documents, and you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, there is this little segment down here that says CIA has no objection to declassification and or release of CIA information in this document, except brackets. You look at the document, what's in the brackets? Israel. And this is one of many pages does this. There are so many people running around the interwebs and saying, look, Israel did it. Israel did it. Blame the Jews. Because that's the popular thing on the internet right now, is blaming the Jews for everything. Now, I understand their stance. I actually agree with a little bit of that narrative, but I hate pushing these type of stories because I believe it is not doing anybody a service, and we are actually causing more of a division in this country by having this conversation because no one can do it civilly. No one. And so it's causing a whole lot of discourse. I wanted to bring this up and talk about it, to shut it down, because nothing in this document, even though Israel is in here 3 times, nothing in this document says Israel did it. Nothing. Nothing in the documents I have reviewed also that are just like this, that has Israel in black brackets, that it says that they have no objection other with an exception of whatever is in brackets, Israel. None of those documents say Israel had any involvement. None. There are narratives put out by Nick Fuentes and other people that want to push narratives to cause more division and cause more problems within our country. This is not true. Israel did not have a hand in it by the looks of it. It looks to be many other people actually were aware of it. Now, there is some close ties we have with Israel, obviously. So there is something to this. And to touch on this, let me go ahead and pull up this. So since I'm sharing this page, I'm going to pull up this news article from August of 2023. The new JFK documents reveal assassin CIA monitor was Jewish spy Reuben Efron. So is this why? Maybe. Maybe this is why. We had close ties with Israel. There's a Jewish spy that was involved, and I believe Reuben Efron, he was actually going through a whole bunch of documents to be able to, and mail to report back on any new information. And so, yeah, exactly. Israeli intelligence, 100%. But so many people are trying to push this narrative that somehow Jews did it. No, 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 they did not. They did not. Stop with that garbage. And that is why I wanted to touch on this, because there was so many people trying to push this last night. And then this morning, I saw many other people reposting it, and it needs to stop. It's not really a thing. Why are you trying to make it into something? The only thing I could really come up with is, hey, we did have a Jewish spy that was going through mail and was involved in some of the investigation. Is that why? I don't know. I It makes more sense than just saying the Jews wanted to kill Kennedy. Like, I don't understand that. I really just don't understand why people are pushing that. The last thing that I found, and we're about on time. We're about an hour. Good. So the last thing, this was in documents from last night that I came across. I was reading that someone was talking about Operation Mongoose. Does anybody know what Operation Mongoose is? Has anybody heard that? And could tell me what it is? I think Andy might know, but we'll see. I am a strong anti-Zionist. Israel had nothing to do with this until cover up. Well, sure, covering up. I can give you that. I think a lot of governments were involved with covering it up. The assassination of the president of the United States. Yeah, if the CIA was involved as much as it looks like they were involved, you're going to have a lot of other governments involved to try to paint the same narrative around the world. So if anybody in the United States tries to say anything different, you have all of the media sources reporting the same thing. And so it's going to shut people down. Thankfully, we have the internet today. So you have all of these people that actually love independent media, and pushing this content is shutting down mainstream media, and that type of stuff probably wouldn't really fly today. Yes, Andy, it was really to overthrow the Cuban government. But one thing is interesting I want to highlight. Like, if someone was to do this in the United States, we would really go after somebody here. Let's look at this real quick. I'm honestly more interested in why Australia was so hell bent on keeping classified than receiving intelligence from Israel. Yeah, it's Australia. Australia, I don't know. Like, Australia, I have an interesting bias with. I think that, yes, was never trust the government. Exactly. Um, when it comes to Australia, I have a lot of worries about Australia. One, anybody that lives there, if we entered a world war, Australia is immediately turning into China. China is taking over that country before you even know it. Next, like, they have so close ties with the other countries that I think they're stuck. I don't think that they will actually get the support that they need, and they are not really as great in collaborating with other countries. They try to be on their own, and that would be a downfall of that country. But why were they so hell bent on that? Maybe their leadership was not fond of the Kennedy family for some other reason. We still don't know why. Why did Sergey was being harassed by the police department, FBI, Secret Service to go take out the Sergeant Shriver. Shriver. I almost said it wrong. Like, you guys corrected me last night. Shriver. Australia isn't real. It would fall off the side. Something like that. Something like that. All right, so let's go over this other document about Operation Mongoose, because Andy is already going off on it, which is great. But Operation Mongoose, this one paragraph up at the top here, I want to talk about this. I wonder how many countries are actually doing this in the United States, because I so can see some other countries doing this. Task 23. Counterfeit currency to increase Cuban economic problems in concierge feasible. What is that word? But the main thing was already stated. I can't figure out what that word is. But the main thing is counterfeit currency to increase Cuban economic problems. So part of our program, Operation Mongoose, we're gonna go and give them a whole bunch of counterfeit currency and flood their country with that. How evil is is the United States in doing this? We're gonna go and just ruin the economy of Cuba by dropping a whole bunch of fake currency. What in the freak? I find this so weird. I find this very weird that you would do that. Like we could have easily wiped out Cuba for many things, but we just decide we're gonna go ruin them economically. Is considered Yeah, it could be considered feasible within 30 to 60 days upon yeah, I think it is considered. Um, David, it looks like it worked. Hey, well, David, you're allowed in Cuba. Most of us in the chat and me, we're not allowed in Cuba. So, um, but yeah, I think it is considered. I think you got that right, J Rose. Counterfeit currency to increase Cuban economic problems is considered feasible within 30 to 60 days upon halted basic. Yeah, I I want to say it's halted. That looks like an H there. Basis, halted basis. Anyways, I just thought this was comical when I was going through this and I found that they were pushing counterfeit currency in Cuba. Like, really? Who does that? Who does that? That's what we did back in the day. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised, Terry. I wouldn't be surprised, but it's now that I'm reading this, it's got to happen. I bet you that's where a lot of our fake currency comes from is other countries. I maybe because we're not smart enough to launder our own money. We leave that to politicians. So we'll let other countries come in here. Limited basis? Yeah, I wouldn't say that's limited though. Like if you the word it's got too big. I guess you could say that that I is just odd. And I guess so is that one. So yeah, it probably is limited basis. 30 days upon a limited basis and considerable scale within 6 months. All right, so let's read this again. Counterfeit currency to increase Cuban economic problems is considered feasible within 30 to 60 days upon a limited basis and is considerable scale within 6 months. CIA asks the group approval before proceeding with this action. The CIA is going around and just putting counterfeit currency inside Cuba. All right. Like, all right. I had no idea this was an agenda in our government at all. Is we're gonna go create counterfeit currency of another country and just pump their economy full of it. That's an interesting game plan, but I could see why it would work. It would. Well, and this is why I assumed Andy, is because we talked about that a little bit, and I figured you might know that. Who controls the CIA? I don't think it's one country. Yeah, you are probably not wrong, Free. And that is actually an interesting topic because the CIA is all over these documents, like everywhere. There's so much crap from the CIA in here that it's like, how can you can't say the CIA did not have any involvement or could be blamed for anything about this assassination because they knew about it. They didn't do anything about it. They didn't get other departments involved to where they could try to stop it. It just all happened. But the CIA is gnarly. And at this point, I believe that was probably where a lot of countries probably came around, and you're probably not wrong. Is the CIA helped the communication and the orchestration of it, or at least control the messaging of people trying to report it before it happened, trying to keep that from getting to anybody that could take action about it, take action on it. Let me get rid of this document because I hate that white screen in my face. So I think you're onto something, Free. That's probably a whole lot of why they're all over these documents. I would agree. David, this surprises no one. I agree. I agree. Uh, Honestly, like I don't know what a lot of people were expecting with the JFK files. That's one of the other things to kind of talk about is JFK files. Like we're not going to get a file that comes out and says this is exactly what happened. There was this many shooters. This is exactly what rifle was used. That is not how this stuff works. Um, we're not going to just have one file with all of that. But the important part is there's 2,000 documents with information that can help us understand, do these departments really need to be needed? CIA doesn't need to be needed at this point, in my mind. They're awful. FBI, same. They both can go away. Now, when we start talking about foreign relations, we could start looking at these things and seeing how close we are with another country and utilizing this information to say, were they good with us? Were they not? And those type of things. But it shouldn't matter. We only want to worry about what's going on in our country, not necessarily anyone else's business. We really don't. Example, we don't need to be dealing with Iran unless they end up attacking us. That's really all the time. The only time we need to be worrying about them. But overall, the new stuff that we just went over is I wanted to bring up with General Flynn. General Flynn saying we got to take action, and I agree with that. We got to start communicating with our elected representatives what we would like to see happening with these files or this information in general. We're already seeing people go silent on this topic and not really bring up anything. I expected Mario Nafal because he posted a whole bunch last night. He didn't. As far as I saw, he didn't really post much on it today. We need to go a lot deeper into these files, and I'm going to, and we're going to see if we find anything else that we need to keep exposing. And if we find something that we need to pressure on our elected representatives for, then I'll let you know, and you guys can also do it. Just make sure you're communicating with them and telling them what we need to reform here or we need to make these changes. Because that is the whole purpose of these files getting out into the public hands. Now, I like also, just to highlight this, because I got sick of seeing people talking about it last night. A lot of these people that got these files, some of them were very stuck on, oh, there's still redactions. Oh, there's still this issue and there's still this. Oh, look, it's Israel. Israel's in here. They did it. Guys, stop. Like, none of that is going to do anything. If you're just going to be focused on redactions, if you're just going to be focused on where this falls a little short, you're not going to even try to review the files to see if you can piece it together, then you're not doing anybody any good by just only talking about those things. We really need to dissect this and figure out, is there anything actionable in it? That is the whole purpose of it. Oh, Free, you're always wrong. You're always wrong. Especially when it comes to social media platforms. I do think agencies have lost their place. They just need a lot of supervision. No, I think get rid of a lot of the agencies. You already know this. You would know this would be my answer. Get rid of them. If they need a lot of supervision, then they're not actually servicing the country because they're corrupt and they're bad. They need to go away and get rid of them. Is this all bait to accept a new intelligent apparatus? That's an interesting thought, Chris. Maybe that's the idea. Like, if we could justify this to get rid of the CIA and the FBI, what is stopping Trump from creating a new one? It's possible. He created the Space Force and he gloats about it. I wouldn't be surprised if he created something else, honestly, but he is doing stuff differently this term. He is pushing a lot of stuff back to the states, which is great. We don't need federal stuff like that. Now, could we have a foreign intelligence to be able to help protect us from any of the other countries that may want to attack us or something? Sure, but I think that belongs in the military, and we'll just leave it there. But I don't see that we should be spinning up any new agency. And if that even starts happening to be talked about, we all got to be vocal about it and say where if we agree with it or we don't. I'm not going to tell you the way you should believe in it. I will tell you my belief is we don't need any more government agencies. That's the reason why I voted for Doge is to shut most of them down and get rid of the excessive spending and the size of government. What else do you guys got here? You're not wrong, Julia. We don't know what they know. Do you just beef up our defense to deal with what's thrown at us? Well, we already have our military. What other defense do you want to beef up? I don't want a federal agency to get any bigger and patrol our streets in the United States. That's not the purpose of the federal government. Our states are supposed to provide us with all of those things to be able to protect our communities and we're supposed to have militias, but we have police departments and national guards. But federal doesn't have a jurisdiction within the United States. Oh, so to make sure no other country is planning anything against us, what would you put in place? Military intelligence. Military intelligence. That's all you need. And we have it. I think they do okay. But as long as we don't have Hillary Clinton as the Secretary of Defense and we don't have another Benghazi, that was a horrible shit show. But we can actually do things with what we currently have within the military to protect ourselves from other foreign invaders or foreign issues. That's what the federal government should be doing. Is anything outside of our border and protect us from that. They shouldn't be doing anything inside our borders. Going after the CIA is like trying to empty a river with chopsticks. The only option is defunding them. Yeah, shut the whole thing down. Get rid of it. That's where I stand with it. Is get rid of it. I would really like to see those things gone. Now I'm curious in the comments, do you guys believe that with these documents that we've reviewed so far, the CIA being mentioned so heavily, and then the FBI having a huge involvement in this, is this a just case to get rid of those departments? I already have a bias with this. I want them gone in the first place. But I think the CIA and the FBI can be completely abolished and we don't have them anymore. These documents show they didn't do anything. If anything, they were involved in it. There's nothing in the documents so far saying they 100% were involved and they played a role in it, other than everything was reported to them and they did nothing about it. They did nothing. So I think we are in a position with these documents and where we're currently at, eliminate it. Get rid of these departments. And maybe that's where we start, guys. General Flynn was telling us, and maybe that's what we do. We start pointing to our elected officials and representatives and telling them, hey, these documents are pointing the CIA and the FBI didn't do their job. So get rid of these departments. They didn't serve their purpose. And by the way, the FBI didn't really serve much of their purpose over the last, I don't know, every year since, because they've been investigating people, but we're still having people getting close enough to our president and taking shots at him. Clearly, they're not doing their job. We can just abolish both of them, get rid of them. So I challenge you guys. Let's do that. Let's put pressure on our elected representatives and say that these documents are exposing that these departments are not doing their service and they need to be abolished. Let's start there. That's something we could do with what we already have. And we'll learn more with these documents. We'll keep going through and see what else we can come up with. And Free is obsessed with tariffs. Like, I'm starting to think he's been hanging out with Andy so much that he's becoming a fan of tariffs. Like, he's going to want to put on tariff on everything. Free, you're supposed to be against tariffs, not for them. Lately, it seems like you're for them. Let me check my notes, see if there was anything else we have, because we went over, yeah, we went through this pretty fast, guys. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we touched on all of this. That was good. I was expecting an hour, hour and a half. We're just over an hour, so this isn't bad. Told you we need to get him a MAGA hat. I'll buy Free a MAGA hat. You know what? I'm gonna make Free a shirt. We'll make Free a shirt that says make America make America tariffs again. Yeah. We'll give Free that shirt. And we'll put it on a red shirt with white text, white font. That's what we're gonna do. Free Britney and tariff imports. Jesus. Any of you guys have questions about JFK files that we know so far that we can answer real quick? We'll go a few minutes longer if you guys got questions, and we'll touch on anything that you guys may have. I may or may not know. If we have a document to look at, we can pull that up. Oh, Terry, we'll get the shirt done. We'll get the shirt done. I will get it done. I ordered me a whole bunch of new shirts. They'll be here soon. Hopefully they get shipped out today. They got shipped out today. I ordered me a bunch of them. So I can get rid of some of my old shirts. But if anybody got any questions on the JFK stuff or anything else, because we can kind of spend some time, do some Q&A. If not, we can call it a show for tonight. And then I will figure out, does it mention anything about any drugs? Well, we know that they were giving Sergei drugs and trying to manipulate him to be able to kill people. But when it comes down to no, and well, Andy, I'll touch on your question in a second. When it comes down to the drugs, I didn't see anything else mentioned yet. I assume there is going to be some. There's got to be, and it's not going to be that JFK had any of it. It's going to be what they caught and stuff like that. Yes, David, I'll touch on that in just a minute. That's a good point. Thank you. Actually, where is that? Let me go pull that up too. Andy, on the Catholic Church part, that I have not got to yet. I saw that someone mentioned that earlier, but I did not get into. Thank you. I was looking for that link. This link. Can I copy it from here? I can't copy it. Go send. Go. .com solutionary. Sorry. I can't type and talk at the same time. It's an issue. It is an issue. But I saw someone share some documents on the Catholic side of things. I haven't dove into it yet, so that's why I haven't brought that up, because that one is also another sensitive topic that is very similar to Israel and the Jews and Hamas and what people get triggered by, and then some people just get caught up in all the Jew hate, and it's just dumb. But on the Catholic side of things, that's one of the I got to go through carefully and make sure we understand it before we start talking about it. Well, I understand it before we start talking about it. So that may be the next show, as long as what I can find is not old documents. That's another thing to bring up. A lot of people are sharing the old documents, guys. A lot of people are here, are sharing the old documents that were already released. And that's some of the redactions that people are talking about, is they're sharing those and trying to portray them like they were just released. So be careful on what you're seeing out there. There's a lot of people trying to do it for clicks. I've blocked probably a handful of people today. But anyways, let's see. Let's look at this real quick. Any other questions? Just wait for you know who to steal the idea and buy it from. You know who to steal the idea and okay. Yeah, I get it. A tariff on the grassy knoll would have stopped this all. Maybe. I heard that Laura Loomer could have stopped it all, but she didn't. So We should blame her. Wait, it's black guns? I thought it was. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Look what you're doing, Andy. Look what you're doing. Mafia influence. Uh, not by what we've seen so far. Now they are mentioned. They are mentioned, but there is nothing saying that there was an influence yet. I suspect that there is something, but I don't think that there was a big part of it because it really seems like the CIA and the government was a majority of it. But maybe we're going to find something else new in a future episode when we start dissecting some of the files even more and reverse engineering them and figuring out what's there. But I doubt that they had a huge influence in it. If anything, the mafia was somewhat just on guard, but I don't think they had a huge influence in it. Let's see. Would be surprised. Define media. What do you mean by that, Kat? Oh, not be surprised. Yeah. I get it. I see. Just Andy, you tagged me in a great response. Oh, great. I'm scared. I am scared. Let me look here. Let's see what you tagged me in. Oh, there it is. There it is. Yeah, this Ask Perplexity person, all they did is run everything through UI. I am not a big fan of that. Having read 11 books on the subject since the 1970s till recent times, the release of the documents only confirmed what I summarized long ago. Kennedy and his brother had pissed off too many powerful organizations in this country, from the mafia, who felt betrayed by JFK Sr. after the AFL-CIO endorsed his presidency, to the CIA, who JFK was determined to dismantle after embarrassing him with the Bay of Pigs debacle, to the military-industrial complex, who stood to lose millions because Kennedy was not going to escalate our involvement in Vietnam. I a lot of people have brought up Vietnam, and yeah, he wasn't going to escalate it. That was our government's first attempt at really utilizing cloud seeding. He was going a different direction with it, and yeah, military industrial complex would lose a lot of money in that. But did they really do anything? We're gonna have to see if it's in the documents. I doubt it. The actual murder of the president was carried out by rogue elements in every organization mentioned above, as well as other international operatives committed to their countries or organizations' own selfish interests, but especially those of the CIA, FBI, and Mafia, perhaps even members of Alpha 66 or the other anti Castro groups. After the assassination, they would all reap the benefits of an aware and complicit new president in LBJ. And that's another thing. A lot of people are saying LBJ was involved in it in the documents. He's mentioned a few times, but I don't read it as they are that saying he was fully involved in it yet. Maybe we'll find something later, but we'll find out. This event was the beginning of the end of our republic until Trump disrupted the globalist evolution of power. Interesting. I'm not completely against what he is saying, but I see what he's trying to push in this, and I think it's a little bit stretching just a little too far. But we're gonna have to let the documents tell us on if some of this is true. I I don't think the mafia had too much involvement in it. We're gonna have to see. We will have to see. If you tariff my statements, that's going to all flow down to the three of you that actually listen to me. That's true. That's true. That's true. I'm super interested in the whole JFK thing, but I think having not been alive at the time and thus lacking context for a lot of the goings on at the time, I find it hard to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Julia, I 100% agree with you, but I will tell you the information is out there. So when it comes to piecing the puzzle together, doesn't come instantly to you. So sometimes you might have to go Google a name, figure out who that is, and then connect those dots. That is where you going through it that way and just being like, wait a minute, what was this? Like, there was this name. Going through that, um, it's fun. That's the type of stuff I enjoy doing. It's why I don't use AI a whole lot for this stuff. I use it for some brief summary. If there's a few pages that I just want an idea of what's going on, and if anything stands out, I'll run it through. But I still go through the whole document myself to make sure I understand it, because most of the time AI misses a lot of context and misses a lot of key detail. Like I mentioned earlier on in the show, no one is talking about Sergey and how he was harassed by the FBI and Secret Service and the police departments and told to go and murder um, Sergeant. So no one else is saying that. So that's telling you the AI platforms are not doing that well. And mostly it's their ignorance in using AI. They think you can throw a document in there and say, give me a summary, and it's going to hit on all key points. It won't necessarily hit everything that you're thinking of. Whose idea was it to put him in a convertible in Dallas and that route? That I'm hoping we find out, Andy, because someone, I can't remember who, and I think it was Kat. Kat, was it you that was telling me that you knew somebody that worked in Tampa or knew about JFK was supposed to go to Florida, not Dallas, but somehow it changed and he ended up in Dallas? I can't remember who tagged me in that this morning. Someone was in my comments mentioning that, and I want to know. And so hopefully we find some information about him going to the wrong place and why did it change. Chris, it's in the Warren report. Okay, well that would be interesting, because if it's in there, then that we already have the information. We don't have to dive through all of these files to find that. My mom worked in Florida AG's office. Yeah, it was you. I thought so. I thought you mentioned that today. So more to come, guys. More to come. We're gonna keep going through this. I don't want to go through page by page for everybody, but we're gonna dissect some of these documents together like we did yesterday. I wanted to do a better summary of what we went over yesterday because it was kind of hectic since we got the files 30 minutes before we went live, and then touch on some of the stuff that I found today so we can get right back on track. And then we're going to just start going over new stuff in the next episode. Thanks, Jim. And so we're going to start going over that stuff, and we'll be doing more of these. I don't know if it will be every night. Probably not. Because doing a show every night is quite exhausting, but we'll figure out a cadence here, because it's going to take quite a few of these episodes. And anything like Julia, any of you guys that go through the files that you find something and you want to go over them in the show, send them to me and we'll go over them. And if anybody wants to come on and go over them with me on the show, let me know. I'll send you a link and you can jump on and we can talk about it together. I'm not opposed to that either. Going through these files is going to be important to make sure that we can get the truth out and we can understand it and not let other people paint the narrative for us. So on that note, David mentioned in the comments earlier with Maj and his solutionary give, send, go. Let me pull this up actually real quick. Maj, I don't know a whole lot about this, but he asked for help promoting his campaign because he's at the final stretch of getting his funding here. But Maj is trying to get some backing, and the link to it, I'm going to throw it in the comments again for everybody. If you want to help out Maj with Black Guns Matter, he is trying to keep all of the money coming in to where he can do professional training and teach people hands-on with weapons and all of these things and not pass on a cost. And so all of that is covered in a lot of these things that he's doing. And I believe he's building an entirely new building that he's putting all of these things, these events on in. Let me see if he mentions it in here. One of his videos, he mentioned it, has been educating and empowering hundreds of thousands of people across the country in critical areas like firearm safety, conflict resolution, de-escalation, and more. We made a huge impact, but we're not done yet. We have a bold new mission to secure a solutionary center in Philadelphia, a physical hub where we can expand our life-changing programs and offer even more opportunities to our community, from civics classes to survival training, health courses to stop the bleed and phlebotomy. The Solution Center will be the heart of our mission to build a stronger, safer, and more empowered future. I I like Maj a lot. If you guys don't know Maj, go follow him on X. Let me go and get his handle on X. I wasn't prepared to talk about this. Sorry, guys. But Maj, I absolutely love everything that he pushes on X. He is much more libertarian minded. So those of you that are really into MAGA, I understand. But when it comes to Maj, he is very similar to me. He will call it like it is. He will call out people, anything that Donald Trump does that he disagrees with, but he does it in a good way and in an educational way. So if you go and follow him, check him out, and he will make sure that you get informed. There we go. Maj Tour 99. There we go. This is his handle on X. If you want to go follow him there. And I don't have a whole lot more to go over, guys. We're gonna probably end it here unless I see anything in the comments that we should touch on. He should have been in the Cybertruck. Those are supersonic and AI. Oh, geez. Yeah, so we should have had we should have had a Cybertruck back in the what is that? The 60s, 63? We had an electric car back then, but I'm pretty sure it only got to go around the block. I don't think it really had any range to it at all. And we're already having today people complaining about ranges in electric cars. Okay. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, well, I don't disagree with you, Chris, on this. The CIA and everybody had a heads up on this. They had a heads up on it. And so did other people know? Like the FBI in Dallas knew. The FBI in Dallas knew. And so it's very well possible all of the Texas government had some sort of knowledge and they didn't take action on it. Were they playing a huge role in it? I don't know. But they knew. They didn't take action on it. That's for sure. What do you think is the best way to hook Free up with Brittany? I won't do that. No. Brittany belongs where she's at. Free. You think Free is weird now? Wait until he gets with Brittany. You're gonna have two of them dancing with knives on TikTok videos. Really think that's a good idea? Because that is exactly what Free would be doing with Brittany. But guys, we're gonna call it right here. I'm working on a new intro and a new outro, just FYI. So these things will change with the new show. But thank you for tuning in with me. We got 1,200 viewers tonight, which is really good because I didn't give anybody really a heads up. It was like an hour and a half. But thanks for tuning in. Be on the lookout for the next episodes. I'll be posting them early so everybody can chime in and schedule it out. But if you find anything interesting, send it my way and we'll talk about it in the next episode. All right, everybody. Have a good night.